You spent all season, Joe, on the sideline, which is a different perspective. What did you learn being down there and about everything that you never knew before?
The biggest thing that I found out, and obviously you see, you get the perspective, what the talking heads have to say, what, coaches with their press conferences and that. The biggest thing I learned is exactly how hard it is to win in major college football. It is a hard thing. The amount of things that have to be managed on the sideline, you're talking for road games, 70 players travel. When you're at Beaver Stadium, it's more than that. Different players that you have to manage, different facets of the game, whether it's replays now, whether it's strategy, time management, and not only that, just trying to get in, put the best pieces on the field, the best players in the best situations. It's a hard thing to do. It really is. And so I have all the respect, not just for James Franklin and the Penn State coaching staff, but really for all coaching staffs across major college football. It's a hard thing, and everything moves so fast because, Penn State is playing at such a high level in the Big Ten Conference and nationwide. Everything moves so fast, and it's hard to get a sense of that when you're watching it from up high and sometimes. And so I think that's just really what I get. It's a hard thing to do, and these guys are out there doing it.
And the next part is the information that you get along the way and what you see. And we try to give you, obviously, all the time in the world to do whatever you can, but you still have to condense it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. It's that's kind of along the same lines. Obviously, trying to get that information, but at the same time, get it out there in a concise manner. Certainly, I think a lot of people want to hear, what's going on in the field from you and from the Hall of Famer Jack Ham, rather than hear me, opine on things. So just
not true. No. In all seriousness, it's a valuable perspective because we're listening to you. We're trying to find out what you think.
Well, certainly, and that's the thing. That's what I try to bring is sort of just the, what I gather and what the perspective is down on the field, and certainly I think coming up on Saturday, 3 days of rain scheduled for Jacksonville. That's in the forecast leading up to the game. So obviously we're going to have to check out how the field is, things like that.
Yeah, we'll see. I think because they put that field in for the World Cup, I think they've done soccer there.
Yep.
And because it's Florida, it's very much of a sand-based Bermuda field, and I think it's like a litter box.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm not kidding when I say that.
Exactly, yeah.
It goes straight down.
Yep.
And so that should really help. Georgia is very much a left-handed team offensively. A lot of people don't realize that. And then you start watching some tapes and say, yep, left. What have been your thoughts on watching them so far?
I think Georgia is very much a team in flux right now, and it starts at the top. Obviously, they're in between coaching staffs right now, and when you have that, you're sort of not really grasping at things, but it can be difficult to really provide an identity for this game. But obviously, running the ball has always been a strength for Georgia. In fact, earlier this season, I was surprised that Keith Marshall was still around because obviously he and Todd Gurley were so dynamic as freshmen. But he's now taken that secondary role. Injuries really hampering his career. But good to see him out there. And
Douglas is out of the game, by the way. He hurt his wrist. He's out. The third, Brendan Douglas. And then there's Sony Michel.
Oh, yes. And
Sony Michel had himself one heck of a year going from being the third down back to being the prime back.
And that's the thing that is impressive about Georgia is it seems like no matter who they have at running back, it's just if it's Nick Chubb goes down, Michel comes in. If earlier on, if Gurley goes down, Nick Chubb comes in. They don't miss a beat. It's like the old Denver Broncos teams under Shanahan. They had such a great system in place that in terms of running the football, they can still do that very consistently. And you talk about them being a left-handed team, it's kind of like the old 70s Raiders teams. That's exactly what they were noted for being, as a left-handed team with Gene Upshaw over there and Art Shell on the left side as well. But, I mean, they had a great offensive line as well. But, and that can confuse defenses too, because usually, you have your great pass protectors on the left side, and then on the right side is your run. If you flip that around, it confuses. It can disrupt teams' keys, things like that. So, I think though that it is definitely a team the Nittany Lions can compete with.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think it's a little bit more than that in my mind. Watching. The more I watch them, the more I sit back and say, well. All right. Now, defensively, there are 3-4. Kimbrough doesn't play. Probably Natrez Patrick might play in that spot, I think. Kimbrough's the third leading tackle. Gaines, transfer from UAB.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching staff actually voted him the team MVP, which I was impressed with. But what was interesting, he didn't get selected for any All-Star games.
No.
Like nothing. He may catch on to one late, but did not get selected. Floyd, the outside linebacker, long, athletic. He only has 4.5 sacks.
Yeah.
But he's already said he's going to the NFL.
Yeah.
He's already made that decision. And then Sanders, the safety, is really good. He had 5 picks this year. And so but they're an odd defense to look at because you don't want to really look at their last game, Georgia Tech. You don't really want to look at the game before that with Georgia Southern. And you really don't want to look at the game before that for Auburn because they haven't played an attack like Penn State's in 2 months.
Yep. And the thing about the Penn State attack, too, is...
Just so everybody knows, Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern, and Auburn run the football a ton, options and things like that.
And Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech are the flexbone teams that you hardly ever see.
Right, you never see that. And it's like playing Army 3 weeks in a row.
Exactly. And the thing about the Penn State attack, too, is that I think they are still top 10 in the nation in terms of pass plays over 30 yards. It's a big play offense. And that goes for running the ball, too, with Saquon Barkley. So I think whatever defensive front you put out there, whether it be a 3-4 or whatever, I think that there are ways around it to be sure, and I think that they'll be able to find those.
It just brings with it a different look with the nose and the 2 tackles out where they are and the 4 linebackers. It's a different look. They can come at you from different angles and so forth. And their pass defense has been really good. I figured I'd take a little time to watch the Alabama tape.
Yeah.
Well, that was not a great day. They were red hot going into that game too. Red hot.
Yep, I believe top 15 at the time.
At the time. Had not lost to that point. They were playing them at home, and Alabama was coming off that loss to Ole Miss, and Alabama just really played. And Henry did not have an awesome game against them.
Mm-hmm.
They just really, really played well. Who are going to be some of your thoughts, your keys, before we go into this? Going into the game. That way Jack and I can steal them in the pregame show and I think we're going to go this, and then all of a sudden we'll find out how you react.
Well, I'll say a big thing, going into this game is just the seniors. I mean, this is the last game for the senior class, and obviously we talked going through senior day at Beaver Stadium, going through the regular season finale. But now this is it, and we know Carl Nassib is going to the Senior Bowl. We know that Jordan Lucas is going as well. Obviously, Jordan will not be playing in this game, but he will be participating in that. And for the senior class, which has gone through so much, I think that they're going to be playing with a lot of emotion, knowing they're back in a bowl game in January, which is a crucial thing as well. So I think that'll be big. I think that also, I mean, you always talk about turnovers and field position being so big. They'll be big again. I mean, every game in college football, it seems like, comes down to one of those 2 things, turnovers or field position. Penn State has done very well this year in turnovers. I believe still a plus 6, 7 on the year.
Right. Yep.
And so I think that'll be huge in the game. Georgia's actually a minus on the year, I believe.
Yeah. So
that'll be big. And, of course, field position. I mean, Penn State has actually done a very good job of establishing good field position on the year. Georgia, not so much. They've been behind the 8 ball at times. So I think that those are the keys that I have for right now that hopefully you will. If you'd like to steal them, you're more than welcome.
I always go last anyway.
That's true. That is true.
And I do that deliberately.
Yes.
I actually do it deliberately. Because there's certain time people have asked me, why do you go last when you do the keys of the game? I said, the reason I go last in the keys of the game is because I don't think Joe should go last all the time. No, seriously. I mean, honestly. I mean, you know, that's why we have him pick first. That way we steal his picks. That's actually strategy. And the other part is just out of pure courtesy. Special teams is going to be very big in this game.
Oh, yes.
Isaiah McKenzie has already taken 2 punts back for touchdowns this year. Davis has taken a punt back for a touchdown. They're really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Ramsey's an okay punter. He's good, not great. I expect Ramsey to play some at quarterback. I do expect Ramsey to play some at quarterback. That's something I'm going to be watching for in the game, is that when they put him in the game. I know Lambert's been their quarterback all year, but everything's changed on that staff. And I expect Ramsey to play some in this game because he was thought before Lambert transferred in late July to be the guy that they were going to have be the starting quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if he starts. And the special teams part, I mean, Penn State can make some hay in this thing. I think you don't have that many kickoff returns, but a kickoff return here and there, I think they can do that.
Definitely.
Georgia's okay at kickoff returns.
Yeah.
But punt returns? Oh. Yeah, punt returns, they're not so bad.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. And then I agree with you. I think turnovers will be big. I think that, getting some control on Michelle's big. Mitchell's a good wild. They're not a team that throws the ball downfield tremendously.
Yeah.
In fact, you look at Lambert this year. Lambert, in the last 4 games, when Lambert's been under pressure, he's only 6 for 26. And he doesn't throw interceptions. He's just like, the heck with it. And seriously, he'll just get rid of the football. He'll throw it away, and he'll save it down. And part of me gives him a lot of credit for that. But he doesn't take a lot of chances either, Joe.
No, and that's, I think, the thing this year too that we've seen is that the Penn State passing game has not taken a whole lot of chances. Christian Hackenberg has not thrown a whole lot of interceptions this year, and partially I think that's because he's exercising that same caution, and he has maybe a better ability to make a play out of something, but he's been very cautious, and at the same time, I think that's the thing. Being cautious, being not necessarily conservative, but hanging on to the football is big because turnovers play such a huge factor in the game.
Yeah. So
I think too that also that the defense for Penn State is going to have to watch out for some trickeration because Georgia being in this sort of state of change and maybe wanting to try to have a little fun going out with these guys there. I think that's...
I think you put that stuff in because you're trying to keep them mentally interested, so you might as well use it.
Yeah.
I think that's always been... It goes back to Rip Engel. Rip Engel Penn State had never coached a bowl game before. This is back when hardly anybody went to a bowl game.
Yeah.
I mean, now almost everybody goes.
Now you're running out of sponsors.
Right, which is fine. I mean, I don't care how many bowl games there are. People get wrapped up in how many bowl games there are. It's like okay.
We know the ones that matter.
Hey, if you want to know, what I'm really concerned about, hunger and poverty are big on the list. Okay, number of bowl games not very high on my list of real deep concerns. But Bobby Dodd, the old Georgia Tech coach, Rip talked to him on the phone one day, and he said, I've never been through this before. He says, he says, there's such a long distance between the end of the season and the bowl game. He said, what do I do? How do I approach this? And so he kind of gave an outline. One of the things he told him was, he says, put a trick play in. He says, that way, if you put a trick play in, he said, it kind of gets them interested in trying to learn something they hadn't done, and, it just kind of gives it a little more life, and takes away from the drudgery of it. He says, you may get to a point in the game where you say, heck with it, we'll use it.
Yeah.
Well, they ran a fake field goal. And it turns out against Alabama in the Liberty Bowl, Galen Hall took the snap, rolled out, threw, I think it was Roger Kaufman, hit him, he scored a touchdown. In a 7-0 game.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's right.
Right. And that's the play that Rip put in. So...
Yeah.
So you're right. So I think you're right. You may see something that's a little
Different.
Different from that, but it doesn't mean Penn State doesn't do something different.
Obviously, yeah.
Penn State's done something different all season long.
Yes.
I mean, and they haven't done the same thing twice. The pass from Lewis to Hamilton, right? The pass from Lewis to Lynch that Akil dropped. The touchdown pass from Scott to Hackenberg.
Yes.
I mean, Penn State's put these things in all year. Right? So it's not like they haven't. There's all sorts of tapes saying they might do this, they might do this, they might do that. Right? So, let's face it. I mean, it's not beyond Penn State to put one in, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Paul Brown always said the key is to do it first. That way the bag is opened up and everybody's on alert. So
Yeah.
I'd say watch for it early if it indeed does happen.
Paul Brown can coach.
He could. A little bit.
A little bit. Not bad. I think a lot of people are still using the Paul Brown method today.
Yes.
Hey, it's great to see you.
Great to see you, Steve. Again, happy
See you
holidays
Thursday.
to you.
Happy holidays. See you Thursday.
Indeed.
And,
Thank you.
By the way, have you decided on Spikes Fest yet?
Spikes Fest, yes, will be mid-March. We'll be announcing the date very shortly. It'll be at Multi-Sport Facility again on the Penn State campus, and it'll be a little closer to the season, not necessarily in the middle of winter as it usually is, but it'll be a good time. Great time will be had
Always
by
a
all.
great time.
Always, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll never forget going to one of those, and the player they brought in as a special guest was Andrew McCutcheon.
Yes, indeed.
Remember that? That was fun. Hey, thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Steve.
I always look forward to it.